name's Olivia, and I am free.
I'm going to show you all the supplies you'll need before you get started. A dressing change kit. Also, make sure you have all your supplies before you get started. A Huber needle, I use 0.75, also known as 3/4 of an inch. A white cap to go at the end of my needle catheter. A sterile syringe, and it must be sterile to go on your sterile field. And I use dressing different from what comes in the dressing change kit. I use IV 3000 just because it's less irritating on my skin. Make sure that you have all items ready before you begin, because after you open each item, you will not be able to go back and open more items if you forgot something, just because you will be putting on sterile gloves and you can only touch sterile items with your sterile gloves. So to get started, I'm going to open up my dressing change kit and take out one mask and put it on. This is important to prevent me breathing germs over sterile items or after I have sterilized the area where I'm accessing my port. Also, some dressing change kits come with instructions. I don't need those, so I toss those aside. These are my sterile gloves and also my sterile field. So I'm going to very carefully open this up without touching the inside portion. It is folded perfectly so that I can open it without messing up the sterile field. And after opening my sterile gloves, I'm going to very carefully open each item and drop it onto the sterile field. Now, the outside of the packaging of these items are not sterile. Only the items on the inside are sterile. So be extra careful not to touch the items inside or touch the item packaging to your sterile field. Also, this is why we need a sterile saline syringe, because it's a lot more difficult to use a non-sterile saline syringe because it cannot go on your sterile field. All solution and all of the saline in the syringes are sterile, but not all of the saline syringes are sterile on the outside. This one is sterile on the outside. And I like to open this one because it's the biggest item that I have to open and place on my sterile field. I like to open it and hold it from the outside so that it doesn't fall anywhere. That's another thing, is you have to be extra careful when opening the items so they don't drop anywhere. My sterile dressing is difficult to put on the sterile field, so I don't always open it completely and put it on the sterile field. Sometimes I open it half of the way and leave it on the inside of the packaging so that I can easily grab it. So first you want to sanitize your hands before you even put on the gloves. Make sure you remove all bracelets, and if you have big rings on, I would remove those too. And very carefully pick up your sterile gloves on the folded edge and place one hand in. Once you get one glove on, it is a little bit easier to put on the other glove. Make sure that you unfold the glove from the back side of your hand. That way it doesn't desterilize the glove, if that makes sense. And then you want to grab your other one, very carefully slip your hand into there, and after you get your hand in, unfold that folded portion. Now that my hands are sterile, I have to be extra careful not to touch anything that isn't sterile. Now this is ChloraPrep, and this will be going This is used to sterilize my chest and my port site, and this comes in the dressing change kit. Some people can't use ChloraPrep because it irritates their skin. For me, it's not too irritating. It took me a while to get used to it, but with the IV3000 dressing, it's not so irritating. Now, sterilizing port site is kind of a long process because there are 3 swabs inside the ChloraPrep. So I'm first going to show you how to start, and then for the rest of it, it's pretty self-explanatory. You rub all around your port, on your port, and anywhere where the dressing will be covering. Make sure you get all of that because you don't want any area to be left for germs to be sitting in there with your port accessed. Also, friction is your friend, so make sure you rub it really good. When you're done sterilizing your skin with the ChloraPrep, you want to use SurePrep, and this is to provide a protective layer for your skin so that the dressing doesn't cause irritation, and I also found that it helps the dressing stick better. Now we are going to use our saline to prime our needle and catheter so that when we access our port, it doesn't push air into it first. So first you want to put on the white cap, and then you are going to take your sterile syringe, remove the cap, screw it onto the end of your catheter, and then you're going to push just enough saline through so that it comes out the tip of the needle. I didn't remove the excess air in the syringe first, so it was kind of difficult to push through the syringe. Just a couple drops is good, and when you are done with that, you are going to push your clamp down to the end and clamp it off. And then you are going to remove the syringe. You can keep it on there. I find it's easier to access my port without the syringe on there just because it weighs it down. After you remove the syringe, you want to remove the little safety cap over the needle, and this is what it's going to look like. And then if you don't like needles, I would look away because I'm going to access it now. When you're pushing the needle into the port, you want to make sure you secure the port first so that the needle or your skin doesn't slip, and then just stick it straight in. After you get the needle in, you want to reconnect your saline syringe, and you want to push the saline through just a little bit, and then you want to pull back to make sure you have blood return. That is important for proper placement. If you don't like blood, I would look away again because I'm going to do the blood return now. Okay, and as you can see, we are in the proper place, and Then I'm going to just push the rest of the saline through. Make sure you do that right after getting blood returned, because if you don't, a clot in the line can form. Now I'm going to tuck the tip of this into my bandeau, still keeping everything very sterile. And then I'm going to put my dressing over the top of this. Now, if you're using the dressing that comes in the dressing change kit, then this part will look different. Just as before, don't touch anything that's not sterile, and this part's pretty self-explanatory. You just put the dressing over the top, and after you do that, you can take off your gloves and everything because it's already sealed. Make sure you don't get any air bubbles or creases in there, and that's about it. One last thing before I go, don't forget to recheck your placement after you put your dressing on, because the needle may have shifted a little bit. And also don't forget to flush with heparin. You do not want to get a clot in your line. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it's helpful to you. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day. One last thing, I wanted to include a how-to on de-accessing, and I had just finished an infusion and it was the end of the week, so that's why there is a syringe that is already attached. So this is not nearly as sterile as a process, but first you want to flush with heparin so that no clots form in the line, because the catheter does run from the visible port that you can see the bump on my skin or under my skin, and straight to, well, for mine it goes into the left ventricle of my heart. Also, if you're wondering, this was filmed at a much earlier date, which is why it is so different than the first video I showed you. So after flushing with heparin, all you're going to do is remove the pants, and then you are going to remove the rest of the dressing, and then you are going to hold the port steady and pull out the needle. It's very simple, not as tricky as a process trying to stay sterile and everything. You can take a shower or go swimming or anything afterwards, because after that the device is just under your skin. Also, a tip while removing the dressing is you may want to use alcohol wipes to help get it off, because if it's on there pretty good, like mine was, it can be a little painful when pulling it off the skin. And also the alcohol wipes will help remove any stickiness or like adhesive that is left on your skin after removing the dressing. And that is going to be the end of this video for real this time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video and to my channel, if you enjoy it.